What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at Star Trek Discovery Season 1, Episode 3, Context is for Kings. The first part is a recap of the past two episodes. So if you don't remember, the last two episodes, the Shenzhou discovers an unidentified object because one of their satellites were destroyed or damaged. Burnham goes there to investigate, discovers Klingons. The Klingons are there to provoke the Federation into a war, to unite the Klingons against the Federation. Basically, Michael mutinies, but in actuality, she doesn't really do anything. She just tries to fight first against the Klingons, but nothing doesn't end up doing it. There's a conflict between the Klingons and the Federation. The Federation got their ass kicked. We discover that Michael is basically considered guilty for mutiny and sentenced to life in a penal colony. So the opening of this episode, besides the recap, is Michael's being transferred from one penal colony to another to mine for the war effort. We get some clarification on why she's there. She mutinied. Over 8,000 people died. The other inmates, 3 other inmates are there with her, and none of them are happy to have her there with them. One of them mentions that they lost someone they know in the Europa. This is basically establishing Michael's demeanor. She's depressed, she's not engaged, and she is probably has some sort of death wish. The way this is known is because the ship is being infested by some electricity-eating bugs, and Michael's like, I don't care, whatever happens to the ship happens to the ship. I don't care if we die here, because the pilot went to fix it. Pilot got basically flung out of the ship and I guess dead, and Michael doesn't care. Michael doesn't react while the other inmates are trying to escape. Michael's like, I don't care. I accept my fate. So this is setting up Michael's demeanor, Michael's state of mind at this point. And the way that the transport ship makes it out fine out of the situation is that it's intercepted by the Discovery, the new ship, the title ship. When the inmates are taken into Discovery, they're not really treated nicely. Landry, which is the chief of security, kind of mentions that they were taking in all sorts of garbage here. So basically the attitude towards inmates, towards prisoners is not positive, and specifically against Michael is not great. Michael's the first mutineer that Starfleet has had, and I don't think that makes no sense to me. At this point, Starfleet has been around for a while, and I'm surprised no one has ever disobeyed orders before. I'm pretty sure someone at some point must have disobeyed orders and be considered a mutineer, but who knows. So at this point, yeah, Michael's continuously established that she's a mutineer. The inmates don't like her, Starfleet officers don't like her, and she is going to be in for a rough ride. As the inmates are being taken to the mess hall, they make a bunch of observations about the ship. So it's kind of letting you know that A, the Discovery is a new ship, so new that there are not even scuff marks on the floor. B, it's a science vessel because there are a lot of silver shirts, so a lot of science officers are in the ship. It's strange because certain areas of the ship are under guard, and some of the people have black badges on them, which is apparently not common. So it's giving you information about the ship, building up the mystery of what the ship is about. Since I already know what the ship is about and what happens later, there's no mystery built here. And I think when I first watched this episode for the first time, I already had an idea what was happening with the Discovery. So there was no mystery built here because a lot of the information was revealed prior to the series being released. But still, I think it's an effective way of kind of pointing things out. This is strange, this is strange, this is strange. Just so you can be aware that this ship is not like any other ship in Starfleet. We get our first show of emotion here in the mess hall when Michael sees Kayla, one of the former members of the Shenzhou, one of the former bridge officers of the Shenzhou.
Kayla.
The interaction here is interesting because I'm not sure what to read on it, because Michael clearly has the first show of emotion. She sees her, she recognizes her, and her face changes from this neutral, I don't give a shit, to Kayla, and surprised, and kind of, I guess what Michael's feeling is regret, but excitement over seeing someone she knows. And Kayla's reaction is uncertain. I think she looks at Michael, she recognizes Michael, she cares about Michael, but at the same time, Michael's a mutineer. Michael is considered the cause of everything that happened, even though I still don't understand how Michael will be the cause of everything that happened. And Kayla doesn't really react positively towards her. To me, they both seem conflicted a little bit in terms of how they react to each other. I like that this is kind of set up like an old-fashioned saloon, Wild West saloon, because when Michael walks in, the whole room goes silent. Everybody's looking at her. They don't say anything, but you can tell they're like, that's a mutineer. Oh my god, that's the mutineer. So there's a lot of that, and Michael is the sole woman out, I guess you could say. She sits with her other inmates. The inmates are basically tell Michael they're gonna attack her. And one of the security officers, being a nice person, tries to intervene, and the security chief prevents them. So it's nice to know that in the future, ACAB is still a thing. All cops are bastards, and this security officer just wants Michael to get her ass kicked, or maybe killed. Who knows? I don't know when she was planning to intervene. Michael easily handles them, kicks their asses. Obviously, once Michael gets the upper hand, the security chief intervenes, because of course, once the person you hate is actually winning, that's when you decide to come in. Obviously, cops are bastards. The security officer takes Michael to the ready room because the captain wants to talk to her. On the way to the captain's ready room, we see Saru in the captain's chair. Again, there's this whole recognition thing. Michael sees Saru sees Michael. There's a recognition there. Saru shows absolutely nothing in his face, so I don't know what he's thinking in this situation. Basically, is demonstrating guilt in her face, mostly. So, in the meeting with Lorca, the captain of the Discovery, we get introduced with the captain. Apparently, he has a sensitivity in his eye because of a recent war wound. We know the reason. This is not true, and we find out later why. But Michael has her antenna up in terms of she senses something is wrong here. And she says that it's strange that she was not notified that she would be changing prisons or penal colonies, which is customary, and that the ship that she was on, the transport ship she was on, made a course correction in the middle of the trip, which is also strange. So Michael instantly thinks there's something weird going on, and that she was brought here. Her theory, you can guess, is that she was brought specifically to the Discovery on purpose, that it's not a coincidence that she's there. Lorca mentions that he wants her to be put to use, that the universe doesn't like waste, so she wants to put Michael to use, Michael to work, because, she's a science officer. She's a very smart science officer, so it's important that she forms part of this, effort. Michael says no. Lorca says, I don't give a shit what you say. I don't give a shit if you don't want to do it or not. You're going to do it, because Michael's saying no because she wants to carry out her sentence and pay for her crime. Lorca doesn't give a shit. He says that if you are useful, I'm going to use you for this regardless of what you want. So that's basically where it ended off in terms of this conversation. Michael is going to be put to use regardless of her desires or feelings. So in the next scene, Michael gets escorted to her room. She's going to share a room with Lieutenant Tilly. Tilly is one of my favorite characters in this show. She's just a ray of sunshine. Everything she does is positive. I like the interaction between Michael and Tilly at the beginning, because Tilly's bubbly, nervous, and Michael is like this I don't give a shit type of thing. So the first interaction is like, oh, I don't know if I should tell you that you're laying on my bed. And Michael's first expression, positive expression towards someone is like she finds her humorous. She's like, really? And then she smiles, slightly smiles.
Why are you nervous?
I'm trying to decide if I should tell you that you took my bed.
Seriously?
So you can tell that they're going to have an interesting thing, because Michael is normally, they're polar opposites. Michael is not emotional, mostly, and Tilly's very emotional. Tilly's driven by emotion and anxiousness and things like that. So they interact. Tilly finds out that Michael is that Michael Burnham, the one that created the mutinied. I don't know how Tilly wasn't told who her roommate was. You would think that's something that you'd be told. Like, you're going to be roommates with a prisoner, and it's the mutineer. I don't know how Tilly wasn't told any of this, but she finds out there with Michael, and the reaction is she goes from positive, nervous, and friendly to quiet and lays down. And then the ship goes into black alert, and the whole ship turns black, or it turns like a purplish color, and then there's like particles floating or something. And Michael's like, "What the hell is going on here?" And she asks Tilly, but Tilly doesn't respond. So I really do like this interaction between Michael and Tilly. Tilly is a great character. And a little time later, Saru goes to pick up Michael in her room and escort her to her new post, which is engineering. During that walk, they talk about how Saru was promoted to first officer because of his actions in the binary stars. Saru kind of slaps down Michael in terms of Michael calls him Saru. Saru says first officer Saru, so kind of pushes her down a little bit, like, this is your place. But in the walk, Saru offers her blueberries, which is an act of kindness that Michael isn't expecting. And you can see it in her face when she takes blueberries, that she's not expecting someone to be kind to her. Finally, when they're at the door of engineering, Michael tells Saru that she saw his speech in Giorgio's funeral, and that she was moved by it, and then she wants to apologize to Saru, and Saru says, "That's fine. I know that you're sorry about what you did, but you're a dangerous person, and trust that I will protect my captain better than you did."
I won't make any trouble for you here.
Well, that is certain. But if you try, know that I intend to do a better job protecting my captain than you did yours.
That's a threat. Like, I'm not gonna let you mess up what I have here, like you messed up what you had over there. And Michael reiterates again that she doesn't want to be involved in anything. She just wants to go back to prison and serve her sentence. But it's an interesting interaction here because there's a positive and negative flow between them. Saru doesn't trust her. Saru fears her, actually. But at the same time, he treats her with a certain level of kindness, but professionalism. So immediately in the next scene, Michael goes into engineering. She sees that things are a little bit strange. She asks for Stamets. Stamets is in a different room. When she tries to go into that room, she's told that that room is off limits, which is, Michael already said that Michael states that it's weird because engineering isn't usually secured. She's told to wait for Stamets, so she goes next to Tilly to work. And Tilly says that they're assigned seats, which you can tell it's a lie. And Tilly is just trying to keep Michael at a distance. We don't know why yet. She explains it later. Then Stamets comes out. They kind of have an interaction. Stamets and Michael basically talking about Michael trying to clarify who she is. Stamets being annoyed that Michael's assigned there by Lorca. Stamets orders Michael to reconcile two different pieces of code. So in this short time, we established that Stamets is the boss in engineering. Stamets is kind of an ass. He's brilliant but arrogant. Typical brilliant person. We established that Tilly doesn't know how to feel about Michael and tries to keep her at a distance, and Michael's kind of trying to figure out what's going on because this ship is strange. We've established that. Michael's trying to figure out why. In the next scene, it seems like some time has passed, and Stamets is talking to the engineering officer of another ship, and it seems like seems to be a competition. They're sister ships, and they're trying to figure out something. How to do something better in both of the ships, and it looks like the other ship, the Glenn, is doing much better than the Discovery, but he won't divulge why. And Stamets is annoyed, but also, besides being annoyed, he's concerned about how fast they're going, concerned about their safety. And then a lurker, which is basically Michael being accused of eavesdropping on the conversation, joins in, talks to Stamets about the data. Michael says that there are biological elements in the data, including DNA, which she finds confusing. Stamets leaves this conversation by going into the private room, which has a breath scan. A breath scan is such a weird piece of technology. Why not use an iris scan or use something else? It's also a very convenient piece of technology because Michael gets to break into it later. So we find that out pretty quickly, that Michael collecting spittle or spit from Tilly while she's sleeping, collects that on a piece of some kind of fabric or something, and then uses a hypo spray to spray it on the breath scan and gets the door to open. So basically, dumb security, dumb technology, dumb, but whatever. It's a plot device just to get to the next point, to increase the mystery and get to the next point, which is Michael entering the secret room. So when Michael goes into the room, she discovers that it's basically some sort of biome or environmental area that has like these plant things with glowing things and particles floating around. It's a very pretty look, but we don't get a lot of information. It's just like, oh, so this is what they're looking at. So sometime later, Lorca there's not specified about how much time. I'm guessing this is happening within a scope of 1, 2, maybe 3 days, maybe a week. But Lorca gets a notification that the Glen suffered a situation based on their Black Alert maneuvers. and everybody on the ship died, which was Stamets' concern in the conversation that he had earlier, that they were pushing their safety limits and something would happen, and something did happen, so Stamets was correct, and everybody on the ship was lost. In this next scene, they're in engineering. Lorca informs the important crew, so he informs Stamets, security officer, Michael, and Saru about what happened in the Glen, the sister ship that had that accident. They don't have any additional information. They need to get all that information back. They can't transport because the ship is shielded, so that's a question mark, because that's weird according to Stamets. So their ship isn't shielded, but the other ship was, so that means that there's something different in that ship. They're gonna send people on a transport over to the ship, but there are a few considerations. One, the ship is close to Klingon territory, which Stamets finds annoying and complains about it, and Lorca has to remind him that he's at war. So you can already tell the relationship between Stamets and Lorca is conflicting. Stamets is a pure scientific person, and he doesn't appreciate his technology being used for war. Lorca is a war captain, so he wants to make sure that he has every advantage against the Klingons. So they're in conflict with each other. They're even in conflict with each other when Lorca tells Stamets to take Michael into the mission. Lorca says that it's an order and he has no choice. Stamets is reluctantly agrees with that. And then to rub it in, Lorca asks Saru what Saru's estimate on Michael's abilities are. And Saru says,
Her mutiny aside, she is the smartest Starfleet officer I have ever known.
Huh. And he knows you.
He took Stamets and ground him down. Basically, that's what he's doing here. Putting Stamets back in his place. Like, you're smart, but I'm the captain here, and this person's probably smarter than you. Shut the fuck up. I get the idea of putting Stamets in his place, especially if Stamets is considered, constantly trying to, rebelling against him. But I don't get the point of putting Stamets and Michael against each other. So on the runabout trip to the Glen, the sister ship, we get a bunch of information. We get an information dump. We get Tilly apologizing to Michael about the whole assigned seats thing and not wanting to sit with her. And then we find out more information about the ship. But basically it was a catastrophic problem in the Glen, which caused everybody to die. Michael asks questions. Stamets is annoyed and says that he doesn't want to share information with her. She's just a lackey and she's a mutineer and doesn't want her in the project. And that he doesn't want to use the project for war. And we get a little bit of backstory that he and his friend were developing this, and then they were split up and tasked to work on it separately so they could get more progress and basically try to get it to be used for the war effort, which is not what they wanted to do. And he doesn't want that technology in the warmonger's hand, Lorca. So we get a lot of established information here that this technology was not meant for war, but it's being used for war. That Stamets is not happy about the whole situation, and that Stamets is basically the only person left in this whole thing that knows the in and out of this project since the other guy who was on the Glen died. So there's this whole big scene in the ship. It's the most action-packed scene in this episode. They go to the Glen. They discover that the people there were twisted up when they died, so they looked all shredded and twisted up, which Stamets attributes to some sort of error that I don't understand. Technobabble. And then they discover some Klingons on the ship. The Klingons were not twisted up, so they came after the ship was there. And then there's a live Klingon that shushes them, which is funny. That says, are they shushing us?
Is he shushing you?
And then that Klingon gets killed by a thing. That thing, a creature, unidentified creature, starts attacking them. They start running. They go to engineering. They discover that engineering has a bunch of technology there that is unknown to them. Something in the reaction chamber and another thing that's put in the navigation that they don't recognize. So it's technology that they added. The thing is still chasing them. They grab all that technology. They grab all the data they can. They escape through one door while Michael distracts the monster through the Jeffries tubes to get the monster to follow her instead of following them. They reach the runabout or the shuttle, and then Michael reaches it afterwards, and then they escape. The monster's still in the ship. And that's pretty much it. That's what happens in the thing. So what we discover in the ship is that there's technology that they were using that the Discovery doesn't have. They had that monster in it, but they don't know where the monster came from. Their use of the technology caused the ship to twist up, and everybody inside it to twist up and die. And that's pretty much it. They escape, and we're back on the Discovery. So later on, Burnham is called into the ready room, and before she goes there, she talks to Saru. Saru tells her that the transport ship is leaving in an hour, the prisoner ship. Michael guarantees that she's going to be on it. She's not. Saru takes this opportunity to tell Michael that she was instrumental to the situation in the Glen. Saru says, "You were always a good officer. It's just that your decisions weren't the best." Michael comes to the ready room. Lorca offers Michael a permanent position in Discovery. Michael declines, and Lorca basically says, "What, you're hell-bent on punishing yourself?" And Michael says, "No, but something else is going on here that I don't like." She believes that she was brought to the ship because A, she doesn't have scruples, according to him, because she's a mutineer. B, she would be desperate to do anything to get out of prison, including illicit weapons and things that go against the Geneva Convention. And basically that she thinks she was brought there on purpose and tested in multiple situations just to see if she would be a good ally to Lorca that would go against what Starfleet believes in. And Michael's against that. She says, "I'm not the person you think I am. I'm not the type of person that will go against Starfleet's ideals, base ideals." Lorca tells her, "Yeah, you're wrong, and I'll show you why," and takes her somewhere else. They transport to engineering to get a detailed account of what the Discovery is and what the experiment is and what the biological elements are used for. So when Lorca takes Burnham to engineering, he explains what the spore drive is, which is basically, it's a technology that uses the mycelial network, which is a network that extends throughout the universe that connects everything together to travel between one point and another in a blink of an eye. Basically like wormholes, I guess, but not really. So from here to here, they can travel back and forth using that mycelial network, using the spore drive. That's what it's going to be used. And he says that would win the war, because obviously being able to travel from one place to another instantly would definitely be a plus in the war effort. And then Lorca says that he didn't bring her into the project because of her scruples, her lack of scruples, rather because of her strategic thinking and her ability to think outside the box. The fact that Michael predicted the situation that was going to happen in the binary stars and did the correct thing despite being outside of the correct parameters, like going outside of what Starfleet believes, but doing the right thing in the situation, is why he wants her there. It's not about her having bad scruples, but about her being able to think outside of the box and being able to do what's right, not necessarily what is correct, if you get what I mean. The way he says it is, universal rules are for lackeys, context is for kings. So he wants her ability to think independently. So in the last scene, we see that Lorca destroys the Glen, and apparently they beamed the monster on board. We don't know why yet, we just know that he did, and this is painted as something sinister, but we kind of figure out later why he did that. And that's it. That's the end of episode 3. Context is for kings. Now you know the reason why it's named that. What do I think about the episode? I think, again, unfortunately, it's the third episode that they're setting up the universe. So this has been 3 episodes in a row that they're setting up the current situation. So there hasn't been a lot moving forward in terms of storyline or character development, except for Michael. But at least at this point, I think this marks the end for setup for this season, and now we're going to get into actual storyline. And yeah, I think it was a good episode. I think the whole reactions to everything is natural for the situation, and I like this episode. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, maybe a 7 out of 10, but I do like the way everything was set up. That's it, guys. What do you think? What was your opinion on episode 3 of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you like? What didn't you like? Let me know. Is there another show that you would like me to review, or any other product or anything like that? Please watch my other videos. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Join me next time. Have a good one. Bye.